surfers here, and there's people that want to come here and take surfing lessons, and we're a great community, but how could we be a great community if people can't do the things and be comfortable that they're going to be safe? It's the basic tenets of non-barbarianism, if you will, as far as I'm concerned. That's the first point. And the second point I just wanted to mention, I'm also the attorney for the employees that have a lawsuit against the hospital, and one of the administrators right now, for their accrued benefits that are owed them, that they've worked, many years for, some of them all their lives, and aren't being paid. And, that's a little bit of it's, our own battle, if you will, possibly. But where this overlaps with the world is that, you had mentioned that the hospital was taken away from us and that it was stealing, but now it's been stolen and it's being sold. And it's being sold to other people, and the perpetrators are getting the money. That's what they're planning on doing here. The goal is to sell the assets of the hospital to someone else, then file for bankruptcy, and poof, everyone will be gone. That's what their goal is, and if anyone's telling you different, or I should say, that is my belief what the goal is. I take that back. And if anyone is telling you different, I would like to hear the plan so I could possibly think otherwise. And, oh, sure.
You said, who's gonna get this money?
South Nassau.
Well,
If Long Beach sells it to South Nassau?
I think what would happen is Long Beach is a non-for-profit entity, and this is my belief. They would have the right to do with that money something within the charter of their nonprofit, so they wouldn't be allowed possibly to open another, and this is all guessing, again, they wouldn't be allowed to open another hospital possibly if the state barred them already, but they might be able to do something within their purpose of their non-for-profit status, and they could take that money and open a foundation for the people that are there already. I mean, I can think of a million things,
You're not
but
saying they're pocketing.
I don't know, but I don't think it's that private entity is going to be using it to help you. It's not going to be used to protect you, and that's what I'm right now. There's an asset there, so I just want everyone to be clear and to have our ears peeled. When we hear merger, there's merger talks. The talks are sell the assets and then go bankrupt, and there'll be nothing left. And then what are we meeting about? So let's all be very careful of that. And, I'm a little, the employees, obviously, that's the only asset left to pay them. So, in addition, and I'm sorry for talking so much here, in addition, we're trying to put a wrench in that situation happening. So maybe the world could help the employees too, and everyone can do good things. All right, thank you.
Tell us what happened at the meeting. What was that
Oh, I'm
story?
so sorry. I'm ranting about my own. At the December 11th meeting, and you couldn't make this up, I was sitting in that seat over there, and the gentleman next to me said, I'm not feeling so well, who was talking. His name was Dan, and his arm started feeling pain in his arm, and his wife immediately ran downstairs and got the car, and I helped him to the elevator over there, and you can't make this up. He had a heart attack, and his wife had to race him from the meeting about the hospital to South Nassau. And she said she was going about 70 miles an hour, and it took her maybe 25 minutes. And she was going as fast as she could, and that was for her husband and dear of his life.
Is he all right?
He's all right.
Scotty was here, and so was Matt.
Yeah, no, I mean, Dr. Cohen, who would come over, helped him a little bit, but he had to be rushed to a hospital. He was, but that just is something you couldn't make up, but it happened at our meeting for the hospital. So we have years to come. So thank you very much. Sorry for
Okay,
talking
thank
so much.
you. Frank, come on up.
I don't think so. I see our capable leader of the West Home is here, Kerry Gustafson. I did want to comment, though, for Mr. Berman's comments and Dr. Gruber. I'm Frank McQuade from Magnolia Boulevard. I am a member of the BBCC with Barbara and the West Home Central. What Mr. Berman was talking about, what Dr. Gruber was suggesting, is a real tension insofar as it is a private property, in the sense that it's a not-for-profit corporation. It's a benefit, of course, which is given by the federal government the status to be a not-for-profit corporation, as well as the state of New York. So there's some sort of hybrid between belonging to the people and really belonging to the stakeholders or the stockholders under the direction of the board of directors. As far as coercing or compelling, obviously the Department of Health, we're asking them to do something positive rather than asking them not to do something negative. And it seems that the mobilization for a hospital takes two forms, at least as I'm seeing it shape up. In other words, will South Nassau's Community Hospital be a good steward for this property, or is a private, not-for-profit, such as the Long Beach Medical Center, as it's been for many years, is the desired model? However, we should say, along with this public mobilization, that whatever form the hospital takes, the hospital obviously cannot be mismanaged financially, and perhaps it will require downsizing in the personnel that has been hired historically. It's my perception, just a perception as a resident, that it's almost a patronage mill. Board of directors reflect very much the political in of the community. So in one sense, if the people are to take stewardship of this hospital, we'll say, if you reopen as a private organization, as a not-for-profit hospital, manage your personnel well, make sure the administrators take a salary which is reasonable, and obviously pay your workers. Mr. Berman, that's a simple social justice. However, I think it's indicative, perhaps, of some of the mismanagement that the workers were not allegedly even paid that they're owed. There was also something that Mr. Berman had said, and it was, I'll respect as an attorney that you were being it was a little bit framed. What would be the end game? What's the long-term plan? Is this waterfront property just too desirable to pass on? Can the hospital be curtailed in its size and then valuable property given to private developers for waterfront property? And so the transparency that we ask for will have to really go deep. I personally don't think a merger with a fine institution such as South Nassau Community Hospital is the worst thing, though certainly I have taken great pride in Long Beach Hospital. Hopefully it will resurrect in some form. But some of the things that Mike Berman had mentioned, I'd never met you before, it kind of rings a bell as far as what I'm going to be heads up for, and I would hope that our group would be heads for, to make sure that the board of directors work in our interests as much as we're trying to work in our interests.
As a general introduction, my name is Paul Goodman, and I'm the director of the Long Beach Housing Authority. The Long Beach Housing Authority administers federally subsidized low-income housing in Long Beach. We have 5 sites. One is a family units of 108 units at Channel Park Homes, and the other 4 sites are for the elderly, and are combined 260 units there for a combined amount of 374 units. We also administer a Section 8 housing assistance program, which is throughout the city. There's another 350 households there, and so in total it represents over 750 low-income and, for medical terms, I guess, vulnerable population. We've worked well with agencies or units of the Long Beach Medical Center over the years. So from my perspective as the director, it's a little disappointing that those relationships now have ended, and there's nothing to kind of take its place. The variety of agencies like home health care, mental health, and the nursing homes and everything else is just it's just in a total sense of confusion. I wish there was a little more guidance on what's going to take place. Is it South Nassau? Is South Nassau going to do a better job than Long Beach did? it's unfortunate, I guess, that the flood had, forced the closing of Long Beach Hospital. And it seems to me that if people were like-minded, a $1 million or $2 million annual budget deficit, given the size of Long Beach Medical Center, could have been easily corrected. But, I don't know much about that. I just wish there was a lot more transparency. At this point, I agree with the previous speakers that said, it's really, I think, in the auspices of the state to tell us, now that the medical center is closed, how the services that were provided will be provided. It seems that they've gotten away scot-free. I don't think, I apologize if I'm wrong, but I don't think Assemblyman Weissenberg and Senator Skelos have the answers. Of course, they could put pressure and get the answers, but I think that it really means that the state has closed us and the state has to come up with some type of alternative, and we'll listen to that alternative once we know what it is. In the meantime, I feel a bit vulnerable for my population that I serve. It's just something you wish something doesn't happen, but it will. I mean, somebody's mentioned already that there's been several deaths due to, the change. I had a personal experience like one of the gentlemen mentioned. I was at the golf course here with a friend of mine, and after golf, we had a light meal and he started choking. Now, he's a retired fireman from Long Beach, so, it was kind of like, what can I do to help? I figured he's going to tell me how to help him while he's choking. And it wasn't his air pipe, it was his food pipe, And so he says, take me to the hospital. So it is like 8 o'clock by that time in the evening. And we get to the hospital, and there's a guard there telling us, no, I can't help you. And between the two of us, like 50-year residents of Long Beach, we don't know what to do. And they took me to the fire department. They take him to the fire department. It was like, all right, we're going to take you to South Nassau. And I guess, what it could have been resolved, or you could have gotten to the proper location in a period of,
Was he
10
breathing?
Yeah, he was choking in a sense that he couldn't swallow.
Oh, okay.
But what could have taken 5 or 10 minutes, you think, where he can get to the destination where he would get his help, probably took an hour. So it was hectic for all of us.
Hello, my name is Rena Iacono. I am and have been for the past 5 years the president of the local chapter of AARP. We've diminished somewhat in numbers from, I guess, when I started, we had close to 200 members. We're now rebuilding from 80 subsequent to the hurricane. We had a lot of difficulty meeting last year. AARP gave me permission to be here. I had told Amy, who invited me here, to represent AARP. I say, I can't quite do that. I called AARP to make sure they knew, and so I asked them if they could attend, because and they want information, they want this as an informational meeting to provide them with the sources of information that would be supportive to maintaining medical services here on the Barrier Island, because I don't think anybody really needs to understand, after hearing the other speakers define so aptly what it's like to have a waterfront community where, especially in the summertime, when things can happen in the water, and they happen all year round. I know in 2012, and I'm really healthy for 72 years old, I played tennis, and I had a 24/7 job, which when I retired, I don't know how I ever worked. I'm as busy now as I ever was. And I've been healthy. But in 2012, right around the holiday time, I couldn't move. I had a cramp in my stomach at home in Lido Beach. I live right by Lido West. And God bless Dr. Lowy, he argued with me because he told me, Rena, you got to go to the hospital. You got a really bad, serious gallbladder problem. And I argued, I'm independent. I can't do that. I have 4 birds and 3 cats and no one to take care of them, and there's construction at my house. I can't go. He said, you're going. I went, and it was impossible for me not to go. I had to go. I couldn't move. I really had to go. And I don't know how we functioned through that. While I was in Long Beach Hospital with Dr. Benowitz took care of me, you can tell he put me back together very good. I also want to say that my dad was taken care of at the medical center. And God bless the medical center for being so close to my home. I could get there every day. I don't think I could have done that if he was at any other rehab. I mean, through the medical center, he wound up in the nursing home. So I think there are a lot of reasons why it's really, really important to have a place. I am here representing the thinking of the 70 members. At 3 meetings ago, I brought up the topic of medical services in Long Beach and how do you guys feel about this? Most of my members are at least 75. Most of them are in their 80s, some of them pushing 90. I've got an older group. And there isn't one person that didn't care about maintaining services here in the city of Long Beach. I spoke to the state director of AARP this morning. He called me back finally. And he said, give me the information you have. We have a fellow named Sean Flynn. I'm going to give him the information. I've asked them if they would step in as AARP. They've got to get sanctions from Washington, and maybe AARP would play a role because this is a very special place, and they know it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm actually, and I thank Barbara, and I think, I wasn't going to speak, but I think, we could always say elected officials, thank you very much, but I think a lot of the efforts and a lot of the changes and the accomplishments that we have in our community come from the citizens. And I have to thank Barbara and the Central Council Civic Associations for keeping this on the front burner. Because, Barbara, I thank you very much because your commitment, your dedication, and your drive to get something done here and to make sure that we do get a hospital or some semblance of a hospital back. I think the purpose of my comments right now is to thank you and to acknowledge you publicly and saying that this is very important. Even with the hospital, the loss of the hospital, it has been very traumatic for all of us, and it is very concerning. Whether or not we have our children that need to go to the hospital with, accidents that happen here on the Barrier Island. We were lucky that over the summer we didn't have anything that was like really overly critical. I mean, we had an issue that I don't think a lot of people realize, but I was at a meeting at something else, and this young man got up and talked about the day before. They were all swimming. It was a group of them swimming up at Lido Beach, and like 10 of them got caught in a riptide. Thank God they grew up here, so they were aware of like what the water could be like, and the lifeguards immediately jumped into the water. We were able to keep them calm. They remained calm. They were able to bring them onto the shore. For me, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my word, what would have happened if one of them went under? And how long would it have taken for them to get them to the hospital? And, thank God it wasn't worse than, the outcome was not worse than what it was. So, for all of us, I thank all of you, and I think that it's imperative that we keep the pressure on. It is very, very important. We as elected officials, we're not involved in, the negotiations that has to go through the Long Beach Hospital, Long Beach Medical Center, as well as New York State, Department of Health, as well as, I guess, with South Nassau Hospital. But we, and to Senator Skelos and Assemblyman Wiesenberg, they have been applying the pressure to New York State Department of Health, as well as to all the other parties involved. And I know the city of Long Beach, even though they're not here, everybody is remaining focused on this issue and saying that, the discussion will never end until we get something, back working here. And I know a lot of people say, well, with an emergency room, I think it's paramount that we have this, a 24-hour 911 receiving emergency room. A lot of people will say, well, you have other hospitals. You can go to South Nassau, you can go to NUMC, you have St. John's, you have Winthrop, you have Mercy. But what I look at, I go back to when they shut down St. Vincent's Hospital. Now, New York City is blessed with about 300 hospitals, but when they closed St. Vincent's, they thought that it wouldn't, be that much of an issue down in that area. Well, it turned out that it is, because even though you're in New York City and you're so close to so many hospitals, that whole neighborhood was left without an emergency room, and they needed it. So the state came up with a plan and is allowing St. Vincent's to be reopened as a receiving 911 emergency center, which probably then will also answer the call, like if people have to stay overnight, they can do it. So I say, let us sort of model Long Beach Medical Center over that. There is no reason why we can't come up with a plan, and I'm hoping that that if it is South Nassau, that they will understand that, and that is something that we are pushing for. I also, with letters and things that we've indicated to the New York State Department of Health, for me, there are other services that need to be returned. We have a beautiful, brand-new dialysis center. A lot of residents here have to go off the barrier island, and it's very critical for them, because I know people who have had to go for dialysis, so maybe they could, like when they opened the one here in Long Beach Medical Center, maybe they can go at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning for their dialysis. Now they have to compete with so many other people, and they go to other centers, so maybe they have to be there at 6:30 in the morning, and some of them are elderly, and they have to get rides and whatever. There's a lot of things that cascade, from this. And I just want you to know that, I'm proud of all of you for doing this, and I'm joining with all of you to say that we're not going to stop until we cut the red ribbon. And we had that ribbon cutting ceremony. And then everybody will be there, and Barbara and I will be in the background, like welcoming everybody. But I think that it's very important that we're not going to stop. Ray, I thank you very much for your commitment as well. But we are going to be successful, all right? Thank you very much.